Welcome to another edition of the Business and Personal Podcast, where we bring you closer to the people that you do business with. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Hannan Alsahlani, the owner of Serenity Pediatrics in Bloomfield Hills. And she's fresh off celebrating a big birthday. Serenity Pediatrics just turned 4 a few weeks ago. So Dr. Alsahlani, thanks for joining us. How was the birthday?
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having us, having me and having Serenity on your podcast. The birthday was wonderful. It's just really exciting to celebrate this. Nobody thought we would come like this far and this fast and this big, but we're super excited. Thank you so much. It's great to see you too, because I remember seeing you really early on and everything was kind of chaotic and exciting. And I'm glad that we can still say it's as equally as exciting.
Absolutely. Well, you have such a great story, and we've talked so many times without recording. I'm like, you know what? Let's get this thing recorded so people can hear exactly what you've been able to accomplish. So take me back to 4 years ago before you started Serenity and everybody thought you were losing your mind and having a midlife crisis. Why in the world would you take on such a project like this? But clearly it's worked. So take me back through that and where you are now.
Yeah. So I've been a pediatrician for about 14 years now, and I was in a group practice and I loved it. I also teach at the medical school, and I teach over at Beaumont in the residency clinic as well. And I loved where I was at, but I just always had this vision that I wanted more, that I wanted to do things outside the box and do it in a very, very, very special way. Is something that I've dreamed of since I was really young. And we, ended up having an opportunity where I bought the Bloomfield Hills post office many, many years ago, like 9-10 years ago. And we just kind of sat on it. And in the process, I was working and ended up having babies after baby after baby, and finally our fourth baby. And slowly over time, I just, got the courage and said, let's just do this. And so I started March 6th. Of course, it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of anticipation, but I think the biggest thing that it takes is massive action and just believing that you have what it takes. And you don't know exactly how you're going to get there, but you know that you have the grit and determination and the enthusiasm to do something big like this. And so I had just had my fourth daughter. She was just a couple of months old at the time. And yeah, everybody thought I was having a midlife crisis. They're like, what is Dr. Alsahlani doing? Thank goodness I don't think I was really thinking very clearly. I didn't know everything that it entailed, but some of the simple things that really excited me about having my own practice is, things that you fantasize about when you're a young child, like having a big treasure chest for kids to get, toys out of, and having these massively themed rooms and choo-choo trains going around and balloons for kids and fancy band-aids. And so honestly, that was one of the things that really excited me. And then when I had kids, I realized I would love a place that's really, really special, something that a parent comes into and they don't feel like a number. And I also wanted a place that I didn't have to conform to any other rules, in the sense that I could do it the way that I wanted to do it. And that was very important to me because I wanted to cater to everyone in the area. And that meant taking people with insurance, taking people without insurance, taking people who were underserved, people who are, famous and super, super privileged. And so it's really cool on any given day to be able to cater to all the needs in our area. And we had people who come from all over. So it's been really amazing. It started out as myself and I, and a front desk person. And I remember March of 2017 when we first started. And I think we had 2 patients the entire month. And I just didn't blink. I never worried. I was like, you know what? Those 2 patients are going to be the luckiest patients in the entire world. We are going to just give 100,000 million% to those 2 patients. And if we get 3 patients, that'll be amazing too. And now 4 years later, we've got close to, I think, 8,000 patients. We've got 8 physicians, 2 nurse practitioner, 40 employees. We've got just an incredible team. And so it just fills me with joy, and it's just a privilege to be on this podcast, just even talking about this. Sometimes it's very, very surreal. I still pinch myself when I walk in there. I'm like, you guys, it's like a real pediatric practice. And they're like, oh yeah, Dr. Alsahlani, this is definitely a real pediatric practice. So it's been amazing. So that's pretty much the the story of my meltdown that become kind of this incredible thing we call Serenity.
I'm quite convinced you could talk for a couple hours on this, but we only have so much time. But there's no doubt faith, perseverance, hard work, all those totally pay off. And you're a great example of that. And anybody that's watching the video version of this can see the smile on your face and the passion,
Thank you.
excitement you have. Like that just doesn't fail, when you have all that going for you. So
thank you. Thank you.
I can imagine back in 2017 when you were starting this, you had this checklist of this, and this that you had to get in line for your business. I'm guessing pandemic was not anywhere on that list.
Oh no, nowhere on the list.
So
thank God it wasn't on my list.
Obviously COVID has affected everybody, but here you are still going strong. But just explain to me how you responded to it, the different changes that you've had to make, and maybe some things that are going to stick long term.
Yeah, nobody thankfully saw this coming. We had a little taste of it with the measles outbreak exactly a year before. And so that was a little taste of what could happen. But yes, I think as far as COVID goes, we've all been kind of turned upside down, inside out, and it shows our strength and perseverance as a practice. It's very difficult to separate myself as the owner of a practice of an incredible team and the mother of a family in a pandemic. Instantly all 4 of our daughters went to virtual school. Then I ended up getting COVID in April, severe COVID that knocked me out for 4 months. And so it definitely tested us. And as a practice, it's incredible. We didn't just survive, we actually thrived. And I think that's a testament to the team that we have, and also the flexibility and adaptability of, going out and venturing on your own. We were able to change things very, very quickly. We didn't have to go through any red tape. Like, you're it, you just make things up and change things as you go along. And so we're very innovative. Everybody on our team, from front desk to billing to everybody in between, everybody has a voice and a say, and they're all incredibly talented people. And so we came together and we came up with policies and procedures. The community came together with us as well. I remember in the early days, we went out onto Facebook because we didn't have enough PPE, we didn't have enough sanitizers, and the community came out in droves. We were featured on the news, and it was just incredible. We got thousands and thousands and thousands of donations for our office, which then we were able to go and give to other practices as well. And so really community and just trusting that we would just adapt, and just the same premise of how we started. We knew we would just get through this. It wouldn't be easy. Nothing's ever easy. There's always going to be hiccups in the road. But I think just having started out with that same premise that we will make this work, however we do it, we'll make it work. And our number one priority was just making sure that everyone was safe. And so when you have the end goal in mind, it's very easy then to just get procedures in place. And so we locked down the facility, basically. It's still locked down, meaning you have to have a code to enter. We started setting up tents outside and doing virtual visits almost instantly. We started making sick visits in the evenings and outdoors, and during the March and early, part of the pandemic. And then we would do well visits and newborn visits in the morning. So we'd have a clean area, clean doctors, clean nurses, and then we would do like dirty nurses, dirty as far as infectious. We immediately were one of the first to get the rapid test. So we were able to test for COVID really early on as well. So that was really helpful too. And then we ended up, over time, not having people come into the office. We were able to come to them to their cars. We also developed like a QR code. So people now drive up and they basically flash their phone, kind of like if you're at Starbucks and you're just going to order something, and everything can be done off of your phone. So they're able to check in. They go through a checklist of, exposures, things of that nature. And so just really keeping things as streamlined and safe as possible with the help of the CDC and the Michigan Government Department of Health. And so we're really fortunate that our staff and our team of physicians and nurse practitioners are really, really up to date on these, and they're involved in different areas and facets with the CDC and with the community. And so, together, it was a team effort and constantly evolving, and some things worked and then we'd had to change them and things would change again. And so it just kind of speaks to the adaptability of what we and the entire world went through. And so we were very fortunate. We didn't have any outbreaks with our staff. I feel like, on all levels, we were as careful, probably overly cautious, but you can't be overly cautious in a pandemic. So we're still doing that. We're actually slated, and we were just approved to give the COVID vaccine in our office. And so there's trials underway right now with pediatrics. And so we will be able to give it to 16 and older after April. So we're looking forward to that. And we just keep going with the times and adapting however we can. So
Yeah. Tell me about the telemedicine part of it. A lot of the doctors I've talked to have really fell in love with it. They were kind of slow. It's not like it's new just because of COVID. It was out there even before that. And a lot of doctors were slow to adapt, but now it's like, man, I want to keep this long term. Do you think that's something you want to hold on to long term? Has it been pretty successful to do the telemedicine?
Yeah, I think it's very, very, it's a wonderful, wonderful tool for patients and for physicians as well. It has to be done with caution, though. There's certain things that you just can't do via televisit.
Right.
But absolutely, I mean, especially, in the early days of COVID and now, I mean, we're able to see patients 24/7 through virtual visits. And usually what we do is we'll talk to them first and we'll determine if it can be a virtual visit. Or sometimes what we do now is we'll do a virtual visit and then we'll decide they need to come in and get swabbed or get a urine or do whatever physical exam or do anything in addition. And then we're able to just come out to their car and do it. Or we have special rooms at Serenity that were set up. It's a green building, so it runs on like geothermal energy and all of those things. So we were able to revent 3 of the exam rooms that have their own venting system. So we're able to bring any infectious patients back there, and with full PPE we can do a full exam, swab, do all of those things as well if they prefer to be indoors. Some people are just terrified to come in, and so for that sole reason, or just being quarantined and not being able to actually get out of their house, or for whatever reason, it's a beautiful, beautiful tool to be able to examine patients. And sometimes we have to get really non-traditional. You'll have parents that'll have a baby and I'm like, okay, put a flashlight in their mouth and now you're going to take the back of a spoon and I want you to open their mouth and gag them with the spoon. And they're, you see the whole family trying to help out. And so, it is a great tool. I think for mental health, it's been really fantastic as well. And, for moms, working parents who just can't take the time out and who wouldn't otherwise be seen, and, everything in between. And so sometimes there's a baby that's wheezing at night and you don't know if they should go to the ER or not. And so we're, usually used to be on call for them. Now we're able to just, turn on the screen and say, let's look at how they're breathing, pick up their shirt, do those kind of things so we can make sure they're not in distress, breathing fast, breathing hard. And then we can assess them from there to say, okay, you need to go to the ER or this can wait until the morning. So we've gotten really creative with it. Most practices are really getting into it. We were fortunate to get on it the second, right after, the day after we were able to start getting on. And then when the government kind of let loose on the HIPAA guidelines, that was able to just FaceTime patients initially. And a lot of pediatrics is reassurance. And so just seeing our faces, knowing that we're there for them, counseling them, being able to calm them down, reassure them. I think it was a fabulous tool. And I definitely think it's something that's here to stay as long as it's used in the right manner, in the right way, and used cautiously.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you gotta love technology though. That's
Oh,
so
gotta love it.
I'm
Love it.
just envisioning some of those calls that you're on with parents and
Oh my
guiding them on
gosh.
how to be the doctor through the whole thing. So we can
Oh
laugh
my
about it now,
goodness.
right?
Yeah, I've seen lots of poop. I've seen lots of, I mean, hey, here's this spit up. I think this is blood. And I'm like, actually, it looks like ketchup. Did he have French fries? And, oh yeah, he had that this morning. That's what, and so yeah, it's definitely adventurous. Never a dull moment in
I bet.
pediatrics.
I bet. Well, you mentioned mental health too, and I have to think that you've been as a counselor as much as a doctor, with everybody's routines being just uprooted and the challenges involved with trying to be a parent. Talk about the mental side that you've helped to try to guide people through as well.
Yeah, I think mental health has always been near and dear to me and everyone at Serenity, honestly. And being a pediatrician, you're constantly, educating and reassuring. But this pandemic, just took it to a whole different level. And I think for sure, it's a different way of practicing medicine now. you make yourself, I think the way that we do it, the way that I do it as a physician, is you're just more vulnerable. Parents will come in and they're so overwhelmed. Their kids are being homeschooled, they're losing their jobs, mothers, fathers, or tensions are high. They haven't seen their, family in a long time, new parents that have COVID, and then the dads or moms can't be with the babies. We've just had every kind of scenario you can imagine, or where they're isolated, they don't have the extra help that one would usually have. They don't have the emotional support of a community coming to help and take care of the baby with them. So it's a very isolating feeling for pretty much anyone, basically from the newborn phase to seniors in college and high school. It's just been a very isolating time. And so of course, mental health is is an issue that's way, way, way up there on our priority. And so I feel like we've always dealt with those things, but that's just taken it to a whole different level. And so our physicians have taken extra training through the pandemic as well, because there's just not enough psychiatrists, psychologists, and therapists right now. It's just oversaturated. And so we've had to work with the times as well. And as a mother who has 4 kids, ranging from age 4 to age 13, we've got, all across the board. I've got to experience it and see the changes in my own kids and recognize that this is very, very real. I mean, there's days that they really, really struggle with just basic things of just like the isolation and the lack of socialization and the sheer fatigue of being on Zoom for 7-8 hours a day, missing the kids at school, their teachers. And so of course that translate across the board. I remember for Christmas time, I was in the office and, you'd ask patients like, what do you want for Christmas? And, what are you going to ask Santa for Christmas or whatever? And they'd say, I just want to go back to school. I just want to see my teacher again. I just don't want to wear a mask. I would see my mom smile more, just basic things that we just, never really experienced before. So we are definitely seeing an uptick in that. There's definitely been an uptick in suicidal ideations and suicide attempts in between and teen ages. And so we've definitely been following those kids really, really closely. And the families have been great about bringing them in or doing it on televisit. So we'll see them sometimes once, twice a week until we can get them in with someone, start them on medications if we need to. Sometimes they just, have to be reminded that there's hope, that this is not forever, that this is, temporary, although it feels very, very long and drawn out. So just a prescription for hope sometimes, and just knowing that they're not alone. And I feel it's not just the children that we're dealing with, but really the families. We have these moms that come in and dads that come in, and they feel so defeated. And you tell them, I get it. I feel the same way. This morning I woke up and I was crying and I had to like journal and I had to dig really deep just to do the basic things. And I'll be like, Dr. Alsahlani, you cry? I was like, oh my God, on a regular basis, I am a human being with feelings and my heart breaks for them. But then I remind them that we're in this together. And I think that's something that's really important. So yes, mental health issues are definitely on the rise, but I think I'm also much more hopeful now that we're able to do more televisits and get them in, more frequently so that they have an avenue of coming in and coming into the office. And hopefully now with the sunshine and the change of weather and the prospect of kids going back to school and taking the ease off of them of not being in school when summer vacation comes, I'm an eternal optimist. And so I'm like super excited about that. And so I think when people are able to get out more, now that vaccines have rolled out, I feel like this is the season of hope. And so I keep reminding myself and my patients and anybody that will listen to me that this is absolutely the season of hope. So I'm hoping that we're continue to be able to help them with these mental health issues and to remind ourselves that these patients, it's not just with them, that we need to take care of ourselves and that we need to remember that self-care as parents are not selfish, and getting out there, getting exercise, getting routines, and just doing things that serve us so that we're able to help our patients as well.
Like I told you before we started recording, I'm just so thankful our kids are back to in-person learning. It's like not a moment too soon. We all love each other, but
oh my gosh,
we appreciate now those parts of the routine that we used to dread. Making
it's
lunches every single day, getting up every morning. All like now we look forward to doing that. We couldn't wait to make sack lunches.
Oh God.
So,
It was the last day of Zoom. Our girls are going back on Friday. Yeah.
so now for people that are listening to this and interested in utilizing your services, tell them what kind of experience they would get at Serenity Pediatrics and what makes you different from everybody else.
Oh my gosh, that's such an awesome question. I don't want to keep you here for 15 hours, so let me make it
Yeah,
as brief as
we are on a
possible.
time limit here.
I know, right? And when you and I talk, we don't stop talking. um, I believe Serenity Pediatrics is very, very special, and the community has really, come out in droves to really support us. If you go online, there's close to 1,000, reviews, paragraphs about Serenity Pediatrics. We're not perfect by any means. We strive to do our very best. What sets us, what I think is very special about it is, I started it with a vision that people would be treated equally and respectfully, and that you wouldn't just be a number when you came to Serenity Pediatrics. I started it because I wanted to start it, because I wanted a better place, a special place, a home, a medical home for our families. And I really think that that's been achieved. When parents come in, it's a big deal. The facility is beautiful. You walk in and there's this massive, fish tank that has Nemos and Dories, and the kids before pandemic times, the kids would get to feed the fish, and everybody would have a name for one of the fish. And it's bright, it's colorful. We've got like amazingly themed rooms. We've got like a Harry Potter themed room. We've got a Star Wars themed room that has music and lights, and then we've got our newborn rooms and everything in between, Candyland and fish and their superhero room. And so kids will come in and they know exactly what room they want, and they come dressed for the part. We've also got a breastfeeding room, and we've got a newborn waiting room, which is really special. So newborns come in, they're in their own comfortable environment. And so it's just, and then the staff, I think the staff, we could be in a dark closet, and I feel like it could still be as magical. That's all the icing on the cake, but the team is just so incredible. They always say, like, Dr. Alsahlani, it's like you are like on The Bachelorette, like, here, will you accept this rose when you hire someone? It's a big deal when we hire someone, and it's all through 6 degrees of separation. Everyone knows somebody who knows somebody, and so we all are kind of connected in that way. And it's just a really special group of people who really care about what they do. We show so much. My philosophy has always been to show extreme gratitude, appreciation, respect, make sure that everyone on the team has a voice and autonomy. And when they're happy, then it trickles down to the patients as well. And it really shows, when people write reviews, they're like, my kids love going there. I'm like, what's wrong with Johnny? And they're like, Dr. A, we just wanted to see you today. The kid just wanted something. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. But really, that's not why we're here, And we used to do a lot of community events beforehand. So we really, did like a walking club with our patients. We did like Girls on the Run. So we get our physicians and our nurse practitioners and our staff is really involved in the community. Every year we would do something with the Bloomfield Hills Fire Department. Last year it had over 1,000 people, and we're really involved with the medical students coming on and the residents coming in. So it's a very lively place. It's a place, you can walk through the hallways and there'll be bubbles blowing and kids running up and down the halls. And so it's just a special place. It's a special environment, not just because of the facility itself, but the care that you get is quality care. We give extra time. So our newborn appointments are much longer than the average newborn appointment. Our sick visits are longer. Our well visits are longer than traditional places, just so we can establish that relationship, earn their trust, and it just makes it easier for them. We do a lot of education, a lot of information. We used to do classes. I'm in the parenting groups and do parenting groups as well. And so there's just more than just going to the doctor. It's like you're going to your home, your medical home, and a lot of people, you'll see at Costco or at Target, and they'll be like, oh my God, Dr. A, and like, oh my gosh, see other people from the office, and it's just this special feeling you get. And so I feel like we're much more than a pediatric office. We're a part of their lives that they can trust and depend on us and know that we've got their back. And, we have an amazing community. And so it's the best job on earth.
Well, it's a
So.
good thing that you're an essential business, because parents can't take their kids to the bounce house or any of those places anymore. But hey, let's just go to Serenity Pediatrics. That sounds like they have plenty of fun hanging out there too.
Yeah. Well, we assure you we'd rather them be home and safe, but when they need us, we're definitely there. And so it's a privilege. It really is a privilege to take care of them and their families. So it's exciting.
So, part of my thought of having you on the podcast as well is I'm hoping we can reach expectant mothers. Like, obviously, that's a great time for them to get in the routine of seeing you, maybe even before
Yeah.
childbirth, and getting advice from you. So, what advice do you have for the expectant mothers that might be listening?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, as a mother, just knowing that they're not alone, and that finding your village early on can be, as you know, as a parent, can be everything. It can change everything for you. And so, getting out there, but not getting too overwhelmed, because I think in these days, right, you go on all these forums and you're like, what do I look for in a doctor? And you might kind of even make yourself crazy. I mean, and so we always we always welcome people to come to see the practice ahead of time, to talk to our physicians, to talk to our staff, our nurses. They can, wherever they decide, they'll get great care, wherever they go. If they decide to come to pediatrics, Serenity Pediatrics, then we always say, that they're welcome to call, ask questions. Lots of our patients will come from referrals from other families. And do your due diligence and research, but not overdo it, because as a parent, you're already overwhelmed as is. And so I always say, as a new parent, first and foremost, just taking care of themselves and not sweating the little things is really important. So that's why we give a lot of extra time. We do prenatal visits as well. We do phone visits, like free consultations before they come. And most people will find us or find another practice through someone they know or through a referral, and maybe pick like 2 or 3 places to kind of look into, rather than like 20 places and make yourself crazy over it. Um, and then finding a pediatric office that speaks to you. It might not be that Serenity is a place for them. It might be that someone else is a place for them. It doesn't matter, as long as you feel that connection. And I think it starts at the front desk. Really, you could have the most amazing physicians and nurse practitioners, but that front desk is like dry and hurried and not pleasant. That's probably not a place that you would feel welcome at. So a place that you would feel welcome, a place that you would feel heard, a place that you wouldn't feel dumb if you were asking a million questions. That's what we're there for, I tell the families. And so historically, people will have their baby, and then within 1 to 2 days after getting home from the hospital, then they would be seen by the pediatrician. And so that first visit is a really important visit. And that's why we spend a lot of extra time with them. We also have a lactation consultant on hand. So if they're planning to breastfeed, that's really important as well too. But my advice for them is that, it's like you need a license to drive a car, and you need a license probably, but nobody gives you a license to have a baby. And I always remind them, like, even as a pediatrician, even after I had my third and I had my fourth, I was still overwhelmed, just to expect that you're going to feel all the feelings out there, and just to have a place that's going to support you and not judge you, and find those friends and find those family members that you feel safe in relating to. And to know that it takes a lot to get it wrong, and in these times, it's even more difficult. And so I really empathize with them. And so, but knowing there's lots of silver linings through this as well too. And so I would say, don't sweat the small stuff. Find your village. Find a pediatrician that you feel respected and heard, and not judged, and trust in the process. Most of us get through it perfectly fine.
Great advice there, especially you've lived through it, like you said. So I think that should give people even more trust in what you have to say on that. So Dr. Alsahlani, I'm not really sure when you sleep, because you're training for a marathon, you're in a TV commercial, you teach. Oh, by the way, you run a business too. How in the heck? Oh, and you're a mom, and how in the world do you manage all the stuff that you have on your plate?
Oh my gosh. I think all moms are equally as busy. I think you just end up prioritizing. I think that the pandemic has definitely taught me how to prioritize things in a different fashion. And not every day is easy. And I think acknowledging that that's okay, that not every day is going to be easy, and there's going to be challenges. But I think the key is doing things that energize you. And most of the things that I do energize me. And that's what keeps me excited. And that's what keeps me going throughout the day. And putting 100% into what I'm doing at that time. So if I'm with my kids, let's say it's even 30 minutes, it's just 30 minutes where we put our phone down and we're like, I'm all in here. I'm all in. And then if I'm at the office, I'm all in at the office. And my me time, I'm all in for that. So, my husband and I have done 18 marathons together, and that's our me time. That's our date day. It's 4:30 in the morning, not the most ideal time, but but we do it because that's what keeps us connected. I wake up every morning, and before I go for a run or workout, I will journal. I just put headphones in, and before I get out of bed, I just start journaling. I call it a thought download. So I can just get all of those thoughts onto paper. It's kind of like downloading your computer. Good thoughts, bad thoughts. I don't judge my thoughts. I don't try to get overwhelmed with what's going to happen with the day. And then I find 3 things of gratitude, that there's going to be a day that I'm not going to be able to do this. And today's not that day. So let's do it. And I also have a firm belief that life is 50-50. And so expecting it to always be great is really unrealistic. And remembering that on the less than 50 days, that tomorrow's a new day, and life is 50-50. And so I share that with my patients as well. And it all goes back to self-care, however you can do that. Not everyone's fortunate to be able to leave at 4:30, and we have to juggle, my husband and I, but we make it work. And so self-care could be something as simple as journaling, listening to loud music. Sometimes I'm like, hey Siri, play angry music, because I'm really angry because a patient is really sick and I feel helpless or whatever. I'm sad. I'll be like, hey Siri, play sad music, and I just write, and I might cry or I might write and be happy. But self-care in the morning really helps me, and doing things that energize me, and most things that I do really energize me. So that's why I do what I do. And it's a privilege.
Well, you're so inspirational. And again, I thank you for coming on. I know we had to reschedule this a couple times, but I'm so
I
glad
know.
that we were able to fit it in the schedule, because I wanted people to hear your story, and I'm sure people will be inspired after listening to you. So now, furthermore, what's the best way for them to become patients for Serenity Pediatrics? What's the easiest way for someone to get an appointment with you?
Oh, sure. So you can go to serenitypediatrics.com, or we're on Facebook, or you can call us at Serenity Pediatrics, which is 248-533-0000. And I have to say, all of the physicians and nurse practitioners there are equally fabulous. I mean, my kids they don't even believe I'm a doctor. They're like, Mom, I hurt myself, but I need a doctor. And I'm like, they're like, no, I need a real doctor. And so, you can call and make an appointment with any of our physicians or nurse practitioners there. And, and we just welcome anyone and everyone. And so that's the best place. We're pretty active on Facebook. I'm so still trying to get my hands and head wrapped around Instagram. I'm not that cool, but maybe one of my daughters will teach me. But
I think it's TikTok now. I think that's the thing that we gotta get figured out.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what it is, but I just want them back in school. But yeah, they can find us. There's a lot of ways to find us. They can find us on, our reviews are on Google and all over. And so we're very committed and deep rooted in the community as well. So having 4 girls in the district as well, people start to know you and all of our physicians and nurse practitioners and staff. So you can find us, Serenity, we're online, you can call us, and it's just very exciting. We welcome everyone.
All right. Well, I'm sure you got other stuff planned the rest of the day, so we'll let you go here. But again, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on this podcast. I love it. It's really exciting. So congratulations to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Alsahlani.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.